Okay, hello and good evening, everybody, and welcome to the planning board meeting of January 8th, 2026. We have one item on our agenda tonight related to a proposed duplex at Ryan Road. Before we get to that, we traditionally open our meetings with public comment on items not on the agenda. So if anybody has a public comment on something other than Ryan Road, please raise your hand to be recognized. Okay. Excuse me. Thank you.
Hi. Good evening. My name is Paula Beretsky. I live at 11 Alamo Court in Florence. And I was hoping that you would address the drainage issues that are the problem at the end of Alamo. There's two drains at the end of Alamo, and there's two drains between Alamo and Gilrain on Ryan Road. And I think historically they've been notoriously.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but it sounds like this has something to do with the project or at least a nearby location to the project. Okay. Well, I think nonetheless we'll take the comment during the rest of the hearing. Thank you. So we do want to hear from you. Thank you. Okay. So not seeing any other hands. And Carolyn, you said there's nobody other than us online.
Just to identify all the folks that are in the room for the planning board.
Okay. And by do a roll call, can I just say that Sam is online, or you want me to? Okay. Okay, great. So just notifying everybody here that most of the planning board is here in person, but we do have one member, Sam Taylor, who is online. Hi, Sam.
Hello.
Excellent. Okay, so with that, we will open our 7 p.m. hearing, which is a site plan review to demolish the existing single family and construct a 3,600 square foot GFA duplex with site improvements by Berkshire Design Group at 296 Ryan Road, map ID 29-51.
Good evening. Let's see here. Is my light is green? Yes. Good evening. Jeff Squire from the Berkshire Design Group here on behalf of Sovereign Builders. The proposal, and I'm just bear with me while I bring this up, is in regards to, as you noted, 296 Ryan Road. Share this. Oh, there we go. Maybe. Is that my control to get that out of there, or how does this? Yeah, that's the presentation wouldn't be quite as exciting. Yes. Oh, that's much better. Thank you. So yes, 296 Ryan Road is a site at the corner of, I'll just why these aren't at the corner of Ryan Road in Gilrain Terrace. It's there's an existing 750 square foot house, single family house. There's a shed structure in the back. There's an existing driveway off of Gilrain. These are just a couple of images of the, of the existing site. So this is along Ryan Road. This is the structure that exists there now, the single family house that sits there now. This is looking at it from the other direction. Gilrain Terrace sits just in the foreground here, and then this lower image is looking down Gilrain with that house and the shed structure in the back. The driveway sort of skirts between an existing row of white pines along the road, along Gilrain Terrace, and there's an existing chain link fence that surrounds the property. survey of the existing site, just highlighting some of the elements I mentioned, the driveway into the area of the entry to the house, which sits along Ryan Road. Point out, this will come up in the discussion later, but in terms of setback, the existing setback now is 16 feet plus or minus. There was a 5-foot taking with the sidewalk along Ryan Road, which reduced that frontage, that setback. And then this house, predated apparently the setback requirements at that time. So it was a pre-existing non-conforming condition with respect to setbacks. The proposal is to redevelop the site with two single-family homes, a duplex effectively. The footprints for the floor area, living area of the space is about 1,500 square feet. There's a garage, a single car garage with each unit, a deck and a porch in the front that add another 500 or so square feet. So they're roughly, 2,000 square feet and change square foot buildings. With, again, a driveway off of Gilrain. We do recognize that there is one of the white pines there needs to be removed to account for just the sort of the symmetry of this proposal. And so there is an application in for that shade tree removal, but otherwise conforms to all the other requirements. This is a project that is allowable by site plan review in the WSP district, Watershed Protection District. It does exceed 2,000 square feet, so that was the major trigger. And then just looking at some of the building elevations, these would be the rear of the building from two different angles, and then the front of the building. You can see the driveway in the lower right-hand corner. There's a second garage door hidden behind the front entry of the porch. Floor plan. And then just some straight-on elevations of the porch. Porch is in the back. This is the rear of the building. This is the front with the garage entries, which are offset. And then the side elevations are there. So.
Sorry, could you just go
Yep.
back to that elevation with the garages?
Yes, you bet. Oops.
Fixed glass and bump.
Yes. Yeah, they're 6-pane, garage doors. Yep.
And do you have here details of the proposed setbacks?
I don't know if I have let's see, do I have the full? Should have put a full permit set in here. I don't have the dimensions for the,
First slide?
okay, oops. Right, this is the existing condition,
Oh.
right, which is 16 feet, right? But the current,
It's 15 from each side.
existing proposed front yard 20. Is,
LC 111 in the submittal.
so we've got it noted on the zoning table in the front is 20 feet. Is that,
Right, but this is a corner lot, so there's two front setbacks.
right? Well, and so this brings up that nonconformity condition that I was mentioning earlier, that the existing, building sits at 16 feet. So there is, is my understanding, there's some provision for that nonconformity along Ryan Road with respect to that front setback on that particular edge.
I understand the argument. It's just the plans show one front setback and a side setback along Gilrain Terrace. So I still would rather see that as a 20-foot front setback and showing a non-conformity. Because the plans kind of show it as conforming, which I think we're saying it doesn't conform.
Right. So the provisions under 9.3, when you have an existing nonconformity that doesn't extend more than 5 feet into the setback, you can continue that non-conformity. So I think what you're saying is just show that since there are required 20-foot setbacks. So in a final plan before construction, they can show that layout where
Yeah.
it's 20 and 20.
Mhm.
And just to clarify, so even though the existing nonconformity is on Ryan Road and now they can sort of transfer that over to Gilrain Terrace?
Yes, because it's the same, it's a front setback.
Okay.
So it's front and front. And there are a lot of there are nuances and differences between when it relates to corner lots. And so there's also provision that essentially the address side to the Ryan Road side, even for a corner lot, counts for the frontage, and then you have one sideline. So that seems to be in conflict with the front yard setbacks, but they're two different provisions. So it can be a little bit confusing in that regard. But so there's a sideline for all other purposes except for the front setback, essentially, for corner lots.
Okay, so what we're saying is that this is allowable under the existing zoning without any waivers
Right.
or anything. It just, we want plans that reflect the normal requirements and that this is using an existing nonconformity.
Should there be a rear setback or are there two side setbacks?
So the way the corner lots work is you have two front yards, one side yard and one rear.
Okay.
And then it's basically interpretive. So the rear is the one that's most nearly parallel to the one that's used as the frontage. So since Ryan Road is the frontage, that one on the backside of Gilrain is a rear.
Yeah, so I'd just say for the plan revision, just show the Gilrain Terrace setback as a 20-foot front setback and then dimension that nearest corner to the Gilrain
To the-
property line.
Understood. Yeah, no, it makes sense.
Okay, thanks.
Can you talk a little bit, you mentioned about the removal of one of the white pines
Mhm.
for the new driveway location. Is that the tree that's in that's a public shade tree?
Yes.
Okay, and so can you talk a little bit about where you are in that process and any other tree removal and or tree protection that's going to be happening as part of this project?
So, yeah, so in this plan, this is the tree that needs to be removed. The current driveway, bisects these existing ones, really to align with the architecture and where the garages are. This is the one that needs to be removed here. It would be this third one in, so this one, on this side of the driveway. I don't know, Todd, can you speak to where the process is? Because we weren't involved in that permitting process, so.
Todd Solera, Sovereign Builders. So I submitted some weeks ago an application for a public shade tree hearing for the removal of one tree. So far, nothing's been scheduled. I don't know, a lot of emails to Rich Parcelletti and no response yet. So still being fairly persistent on that topic, but hasn't really moved forward much that I'm aware of. Yeah.
Holidays can be a tough time to get in touch with people, so hopefully that will move forward soon. Rich, you had a question?
Yeah, well, just while we're on the subject of trees.
Yep.
Where is gonna be the location of the replacement tree? I don't see it depicted anywhere.
So there is a tree shown in the front here that would serve as the replacement for that,
Oh.
along Ryan Road. But yeah, that would be the replacement location. There are some trees along the back edge and along this back property line that are slated to remain. So we are adding this one in the front.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted to highlight for the board, I think it was in the staff memo, but the tree replacement requirements under the public shade tree regulations are different from what's in zoning. And so it may be more than 1-for-1. So there may be more trees required, but there's a whole different formula that the tree warden uses that's separate from zoning.
Okay, so we don't need to make those calculations because that will happen as part of that separate. It's just, we just need to know that they understand that they need to go through that process. Okay, great. Carolyn, while we're talking about the staff memo, I think there were some other notes there related to tree protection along the rear lot line. Is that right?
Yes, it wasn't noted in the plans, but as Jeff mentioned, the intention is to protect the trees along the rear lot line. But given the proximity to the structures and that it makes sense to require that tree protection be installed before construction, and that there's nothing about what measures might be necessary given the species. So the site plan requirements require that a certified arborist give those recommendations. You've often allowed that conditionally, that before a building permit is pulled, that the arborist certifies that the applicant has installed tree protection in accordance with their recommendations about how to protect those particular species, given the size and the location and all of that.
Okay. George, can you turn your mic on? Thank you.
Could you talk just a minute about the utilities, the new connections?
Sure. I don't have the utility plan handy, but there are existing water services, water mains in Gilrain Terrace. I believe there's obviously also services in Ryan Road. The existing services come off Gilrain, so we're gonna try to relocate the new ones for the new duplexes as closely as to those as possible. We are bringing some for the duplex on the west side, or I'm sorry, east side. We are going to come in between, just beyond the existing trees and come into the house from the services on Gilrain.
And electrical?
There are, as best we can tell, 2 overhead services now. I'm not sure. There's 2 poles and 2 services. There'll be a service application in to the utility company to, relocate that service. But that'll really be up to them. I imagine it will come from one of those same poles, because they're both equipped with transformers, so they come overhead now.
Yeah, one is just communication.
One's communication, sure.
Yeah,
Yep,
yeah.
yep.
So, just given the nature of those white pines, if the electrical could go underground during all that construction, I think that would be really helpful for the future
Sure.
tenants or
Yep.
owners.
Yeah, and I don't know, one that you can see them here, but one comes from the other side of Ryan Road, the other comes from this side of Gilrain.
Yep.
So depending on which those are, obviously if it'll be a challenge to put the one from Ryan Road, if that's where the service is underground all the way across Ryan Road, but,
Yeah, no, I don't, I think it's right along Gilrain Terrace, at the top of Gilrain Terrace, on that side of the house, I think where the drop is.
it may be, yeah,
So, yep, if you could keep that in mind, I think it would be really helpful.
sure.
Other questions, Stacy?
All right, Carolyn, I guess it's for you. Are there any open space requirements in this zone?
Yes, the minimum open space, I think, is noted on the plan set. There's for existing, I think it's 65%. You can read that.
The requirement at least shown here is 60%, which probably is right, and we're
okay.
at 62.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mentioned about the refuse and recyclables, that they'll be kept within the garages.
They'll be inside the garages, right?
Okay, we don't have to condition that, right? That they put out dumpsters outside the houses, or, okay. Thanks.
I guess the one other thing I would note, and it was mentioned in the memo also, but staff memo, which is the fact that we acknowledge this is adding, one additional unit to the property. So there's a, traffic mitigation requirement that is acknowledged as part of this, so.
Great. Okay, if there aren't any other questions from the board at this point, I think we can open it up to public comment. So maybe there was one other person online. It looks like there are a couple of people online, so why don't we take down the plans temporarily? We can pull them up later if we need to. So I will take public comment first here in council chambers and then online. Please raise your hand, give us your name and your address. And typically what we'll do is take comments all together and then discuss them among the board or relay questions back to the applicant after we've sort of received all of the comment. So please. Not exactly, but we try to keep it brief if you can. Thank you.
All right. So my name is Paula Boretsky. I live at 11 Alamo Court in Florence, and a little bit away from this project. I'm kind of confused why we're taking a non-conforming property and we're putting in a non-conforming property. That doesn't really make sense to me. I'd like to know what the 2,000 limit was put in place for. This is zoned strictly residential. We do have some ADUs that were put in around us. There's one on Ryan Road, and there is one on Gilrain. Those were families that needed stuff for other family members, as far as I know. And when I talked to, not the design group, but the owner, I was told they were going to be rental units, which I don't have a problem with, but when they're listed as condos, you think condos are going to be, condos were put in place so people could own their apartments. So I think that was a little bit different than what the area has been accustomed to right there. There are rentals in the area, house rentals. There's few. They're each one on Mr. Mahalik. So there's the one on the corner of Gilrain, then the one on the other side. Like, so it's 2 houses down, and there's one on Golden Drive. So there's very few rentals in the area. But anyway, my main concern with this project overall is the drainage. That's the big one. And people have been coming down Ryan Road and they hit that water and it goes flying. And I've had my yard regraded twice. So it's not a problem during the summer because I'm sand and gravel. So it just goes right down. But as soon as that ground freezes, I'm dependent on the grade. And I know the corner, the 2 on the corner, and there's one in on Alamo, a little down from me, that's had water problems. I have not had water in my basement, and I don't want water in my basement, but it's now coming up like halfway up my driveway. So, and I know that other people have had their basements waterproofed and everything. So there is an ongoing problem. It's been there for a long time. And I think the city's well aware of it. There's 2 drains right on each side of the beginning of Alamo Court at Ryan Road. And then there are 2 in between Ryan Road, one on Alamo side and one on Gilrain side, in front of the house, the prospective house. And those drains don't absorb. So I don't know what the city can do for us, but you know, for a long time, I hope that when the next time you go, when you do a major road reconstruction, that we can address the drainage in the area. Our houses are older, so they're lower. You know, the foundations aren't sticking out of the ground as far, so, you know, I'm limited in what I can do unless I want to lift the house out of the ground more. The only other thing was the setbacks. This house, this proposed project, I mean, I applaud the fact that they have the driveways on Gilrain and not going out on Ryan Road. I know that was a big problem with one of the ADU units, was getting that driveway on Ryan Road because it's hazardous. And the 2 are fine. I just don't know why they can't keep it within the 2,000 square feet. The setback, I'm going to look out at the side of a house. I'm not going to look at frontage anymore. Okay, Ryan Road is not going to have frontage. So therefore, I'm thinking that the address is going to change to Gilrain. And, you know, I think, you know, the 20 and the 20 should have been in place. And it's watershed protection area. We depend on the water going in for our wells. And if you're putting up 3,000 square feet on practically a postage stamp lot now we've got runoff that's more water is going to be going into the drainage system and not going into our wells, into the ground. Because when you put a building up, the water doesn't, you know, it runs off too fast. It doesn't have time to permeate. So anyway, I think that was about all I wanted to say, keeping in the, you know, the flavor of the area and just please don't make the bother go up my driveway any farther. Thanks so much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Are there other folks here in chambers?
Yes, but I would let the online people go.
Usually we do all in person and then online, so if you'd like to go ahead.
So, good evening. My name is Chris Stratton, and I'm in my fourth day as the Ward 6 City Councilor. So, this is my district and my contingency, and the residents of these buildings will be my constituents. A couple of things that I've noted looking at this myself. I went out there this afternoon, knocked on some doors, didn't find too many people home, but one of the things that was pointed out that 296 Ryan is a kind of anomalous address. It probably made sense when when the existing structure was built, but it's now out of sequence. So this might be a time to fix that. I don't know what the complexities are, and it probably doesn't land before the planning board. But whether it either becomes like 2 and 4 Gilrain or it gets a Ryan Road number that is in sequence. I also looked at, there was an earlier plan for this, which in some ways I think I personally liked better than the current plan. And, there were notes on the earlier plan of why it was not compliant. And it was not compliant with standards that are, I would say, mostly aesthetic. And that raises for me some interesting questions about sort of what is the public interest. The aesthetic that's now required is not really the aesthetic of that neighborhood. If you were starting from scratch, yeah, it might be something you go for. But a couple of sort of, is it an aesthetic quality, or what does it do for livability for the people who are going to live in these units and also for their neighbors? So a few things I noticed. The original had a 2-bay garage for each unit. And because it was a single door, not dual doors on each side, it was a non-compliantly wide door. And the note, the limit is 12 feet. The new has just a single garage bay for each side, and your second parking spot is in front of the garage blocking it. I believe these are roughly 1,600 square foot units or maybe larger. So these are really going to be 2 adult households typically. And I worry a little bit that if someone gets home before their spouse and partner in the car that doesn't traditionally go in the garage, that they're going to want to park on the street rather than kind of block their own garage. So I think that increases the neighborhood impact a little bit versus if there were non-interfering off-street parking for each side. But I understand where that's coming from. I just recognize that this is a very car-dependent part of Northampton, and these are units large enough that there's typically going to be 2 cars per household that are active. I also noticed that to comply with the code, the roof lines are now more broken up. And our building code says that you basically can only do electric heat now, which means heat pumps. Having previously, before I was a homeowner, lived in an all-electric ADU with heat pumps, that can still be a fairly expensive way to heat. And the way it really makes sense is if you also do solar. I understand people don't want to put solar panels on right from the start because it's expensive. I mean, I have a great roof for solar and I can't afford to do it right now. But the jumbled up roof line seems a little less suitable for eventual solar to me. Particularly the face that would face Gilrain, I think, is the southwest, which is what you'd really want for that. In the new design, your potential is kind of northwest across Ryan Road, which isn't as good. But that's maybe not a tonight discussion, but it is something that comes to mind when I look at this. Another thing I noticed, these towering pine trees were sprinkled all over these neighborhoods. I mean, I'm behind the Ryan Road School, we have them too. When these homes were built, typically 50 years ago. And for a while, they were great shade trees, but they've kind of outgrown their service life. I mean, they're towering, they're up to 100 feet tall. I don't think these, but some of them are really getting there, and they've become hazards, and people are cutting them down. Many of them are not public shade trees. These were not originally, because this was not originally built as a public way. Though it is today. And, removing one is necessary for the driveway. I think ultimately all of those trees are going to need to come down and be replaced with something that's more right-sized. Again, that's a more complicated discussion, but one of the specific things I noticed is that the replacement tree, I believe it's a catalpa, and I'm sorry if I'm saying that wrong. When I looked that up, those maybe have some reputation for damaging sidewalks. And the Ryan Road sidewalk is non-compliant. We're going to have to replace that. I'm going to have to vote to spend a lot of money on replacing that in the near future, probably. And making sure that we're not, mandating a tree that's just going to immediately break our brand new sidewalk could be a concern. So I think I had something else on my list, but those are just kind of my thoughts for the moment. I mean, my general sense, and I'm curious what people online say, is that, people don't love this project, but they don't entirely hate it. This is really a conversation of details. And, that's why we have public meetings. So thank you.
Thank you. All right. Not seeing anybody else in person, I'm going to turn things over online. If there's anybody online who would like to give public comment about this project, please use the raise hand reaction button or turn your camera on and raise your physical hand about, and we will call on you. Okay. Not seeing anybody online. Um, let's see. So we've heard some questions from public comment here. Maybe we can go ahead and take those kind of in reverse order. So Carolyn, maybe you can speak a little bit about the concerns raised about the shade trees, but my understanding is, first of all, that that's all under the purview of the tree warden, that they're monitoring those, and also that any replacements would be from the approved tree schedule and wouldn't, something wouldn't be planted that would be in conflict with the public way.
Yeah, the tree warden is pretty careful about the types of trees that are approved as replacements, and certainly in the public right of way, and would take into consideration those things. But yeah, it's not part of the planning board jurisdiction.
Okay. I think there were some other questions raised by Councillor Stratton about largely, I think, related to the form-based code here. I was not aware of there being an earlier iteration of this project, but I think, what we've seen before us meets the standards as they exist. And so as a site plan review, our job is basically to identify that the project does indeed meet those standards. And I think that the applicant has shown that.
And to clarify, this 2,000 square feet isn't a threshold that is set in the zoning as saying, oh, if it's more than 2,000 square feet, this is a red flag, the board shouldn't approve it. It's really the general trigger throughout the code for any project of any type, commercial, residential, that anything over 2,000 square feet of new construction triggers a review for the planning board to evaluate the access, the landscaping, the lighting, and those kinds of things. It's not about special consideration that a project, like a special permit, it's not that same threshold. So it's really just a marker saying, okay, this is this size, therefore it gets this other level of review.
Right, but it is again, as a site plan review, it's a technical permit, so we're kind of here to do a double check that it's met all the technical requirements, not a discretionary permit, which has a sort of higher threshold of standards to meet, but also we have more discretion to request changes of applicants. There were a couple of questions raised as well about the address of the new properties that's managed by fire and police. Is that right?
DPW.
DPW. I knew it was somebody else.
And don't have to worry about that. And there's a whole manual about how to address.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they will look at that question and make a decision about what's best
Yeah.
for the property.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you. I think there were also questions raised about, one family versus two family, condos versus rentals. The zoning now exists, allows two families throughout the city. And we don't mandate the use of those properties. We also need housing and welcome it in all forms. And so I think the other questions that were raised had to do with drainage, water runoff, kind of existing issues here. Because of the size of this project, it doesn't require a separate stormwater permit. But for neighbors or others who are concerned about drainage and other issues in this area, would that also be a question to bring to the counselor or to DPW?
Yeah, so and I think this issue, I know that DPW received a comment from this property owner already. They were not aware that there was an issue with drainage in Ryan Road. It sounds like it's a Ryan Road issue. Um, any property owner is not allowed to direct stormwater into a street. So it goes for everyone who lives in the neighborhood now, that if they want to change things in their yard, they can't just funnel it out to the road. So the same would apply in this new situation. The driveway, of course, would be where you might imagine that could happen if there was any kind of grade. And of course, that's facing Gilrain, so the opposite side from Alamo Court. There may be, I mean, Ryan Road's not that old. It was rebuilt recently. There may be an issue with drainage on Ryan Road, like the catch basins may need to be cleaned or something like that, but that is a DPW issue. Yeah.
Were there other questions or concerns that I missed?
I guess I would also just note that the Watershed Protection District has a greater open space requirement. More open space is required for lots in the Watershed Protection District. And this project falls within that requirement. So it doesn't really matter how big the house is. We're really looking at how much impervious area is on the lot. So you could have a small house with a giant driveway, or you could have a giant house with a small driveway, as long as the impervious area falls under that, that threshold. We don't really, it doesn't matter how big the house is or how many units are in the house. We're just looking at the overall impervious area of the lot.
Thank you.
Actually, question for Carolyn. The council member suggested that the form-based roof line is not solar friendly. Have you gotten any feedback on that? Do you know if that's true, or have you heard that before?
I haven't. I mean, I think it's really about each unit. And of course, if you have 2 units, you're not typically buying solar at the same time for I mean, they're controlled separately, particularly if it's a condominium. But no, we haven't heard that. And I think it's really more about the orientation of the roof, and where that option is available.
There was a public comment submitted. There was a public comment submitted about the garages facing really the side lot should be in the form-based code. I think it calls for that. And we have 2 front-facing.
Yeah, so again, that goes to sort of understanding the entire package of the zoning. So this is a corner lot. So
Yep.
the form-based code envisions you're talking about lots just fronting on a street as opposed to a corner. And as I mentioned previously, for the purposes of front setback, you have one dimension, but then there's a treatment of sidelines. So the other corner lot definition identifies a frontage lot and the rest and the other side as a sideline. So if you really wanted to read, and then there's another piece of it that facing side or rear is really targeted for your ABC districts, not the WSP district. And then finally, there's always the waiver that the planning board, because it's a corner lot, if those other conditions didn't exist, or the other provisions in the ordinance didn't exist, there's that. So my interpretation is that this complies with meeting the garage.
This has to do with the 2 garages facing the side, the Gilrain Terrace.
Right.
Versus the rear or the front.
Right, so there's still a sideline in a scenario for a corner lot that is along a street.
Right. And it's keeping with the character of Gilrain Terrace too. Most of the other garages face Gilrain Terrace, but.
quick question. We didn't talk about lighting. I just want to confirm there's no site lighting proposed. Okay.
I think I saw that. Councilor Stratton, did you want to make another comment? If so, would you approach the mic, please? Thank you.
I was going to clarify that when I started looking at solar on my own roof, there are now some like fire protection requirements that there be a walkway at the edge of the roof, which once you start breaking up roofs, you lose even more because of that walkway requirement. And I couldn't quote the exact, it's like you got to have 3 feet along one edge and something along the roof because they need to be able to get on the roof. And so when you've got the kind of the peaks coming out over the garage, I mean, you get fewer panels on, but you go around and you look, and there's people who've got some panels on this face and some on these, and then you have to use the individual inverters because of the shading, and it's not impossible, but there is a trade-off between the appearance and the amount of solar you can get on the roof. And I think these are fairly large in terms of the solar you need to get all your heat with your heat pump and solar panels.
Thank you for that. There are a lot of trade-offs across zoning, I think, is something that we grapple with a lot. Yes, please.
Picture of what, and it's not even a. It's not even a bad rain that we get. This is my neighbor's yard, and that all comes across. That's the drainage problem.
Yep.
It's pretty serious.
Yep.
You haven't in the.
Yeah.
I think it's neighbor's yard,
Yeah, I don't think
and that's all coming
this will-
over.
So that we're sort of going to choice. Not there, like that's the road. I don't think either, but
yeah.
like the corner of this post, 99.5.
She's goes beyond. This is my driveway. It's coming up here.
Yeah, it's higher.
That's
So
all.
there's no drainage. Is that Alamo or
Here it is. This is my,
is that Alamo?
on Second. And this is my neighbor
Oh,
across the street.
yeah.
Right across the street, right?
This
Right across Ryan Road.
This is.
It's right.
Yes, that's the project site.
Yeah.
And she's right here.
This is Ryan
So
Road.
the
It's all up.
drainage would,
Way up.
and this is lower.
This is my neighbor's. This is my neighbor's house. There's two on the end, and then there's one here, and there's 4 storm drains.
I'm good, thank you. I think the DPW will handle this,
Okay?
Thanks.
Do you want to see?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think so.
Okay, do you want to see?
Sure.
So this is my driveway, and this is my neighbor's. It's completely flat.
Yeah.
I was just gonna make a comment that, yeah, I think Northampton has many places where drainage is inadequate. I mean, that, the whole Main Street project is part predicated on the need for that. In front of my house, there's drainage issues on North Farms. I bet they're all over the place because rain is increasing rapidly and we're not prepared to deal with it. So this may well be an example of that. I don't know if that sets anyone's minds at ease. You didn't even hear it, but anyway.
Yep. Well, and I think that, with a project like this, it is not the responsibility of the applicant for this particular project to solve the existing drainage issues, but it is an opportunity to, recognize that they're there and help direct residents toward resources who can actually.
And I'll add one other thing is, if it turns out that this is a bigger issue, rain gardens, obviously are a direction you should head. You have room on there to do something like that, and it might help the neighborhood.
Hearing no other questions,
George.
I would make a motion to close the public hearing.
I second.
Okay. Because we have a member online, we're going to do a roll call vote. Rich? Yes.
Yes.
Stacy? George?
Yes.
Cameron,
Yes.
Sam?
Yes.
I vote yes as well. All right.
Thank you.
So let's see, there've been a few conditions proposed related to proof of completion of all of the procedures related to the public shade trees on Gilrain Terrace. Work by a certified arborist related to tree protection for the trees at the rear lot line. Payment in lieu of traffic mitigation. Were there other conditions discussed? Or does
Which
somebody
is
want to
the
propose?
plan revision for the
Oh, thank you.
front setback on Gilrain Terrace.
Yes.
And then the dimensional regulation table should be changed too. You know, just general updates related to that change.
Thank you. Other,
And then do we have to note that we're kind of moving the existing nonconformity?
No, because that's really done at an administrative level down at the I mean, basically, properties like this come in all the time and the building department reviews them and says, yep, they're good to go. So,
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks.
And depending upon the evaluation of the tree warden of the existing trees and easement, there may be an additional tree added to the planting plan. And that'll be covered, if that does happen, that'll be covered by staff.
yes, I mean, that part is really under the jurisdiction of the tree warden, but, the applicant is showing a tree in the front yard, so I think that, at least one tree should be, planted consistent with the plans that were submitted. But if there are more, there might be more there, or maybe they get planted elsewhere in the city.
okay, so we have the four proposed conditions. Does somebody care to make a motion? As long as you turn your microphone on, George.
I'll make a motion to approve the site plan to demolish existing single family and construct a new 3,600 square foot GFA duplex at 296 Ryan Road, map ID 2951. With the four conditions previously discussed.
A second.
Excellent. Any discussion? Okay, roll call vote. We're going in reverse order. Sam,
Yes.
Cameron,
Yes.
George,
Yes.
Stacy,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
Rich,
Yeah.
and I vote yes as well. Great. Thank you all. Good luck with your project.
Good luck with your puddles.
Uh, we have an A&R.
This is on, whoops. I'll share it. This is on Norwood in Bay State. And so it's just beyond the corner of Riverside Drive. There's an existing house, number something Norwood. I had the number here, but it's the second lot in basically, and they're carving off a conforming 50 by 90 lot on the northwest side. So because it's along Norwood and has frontage, there would not be a subdivision to create frontage required. So I would need a vote to have these plans endorsed as not being a subdivision.
Can you just talk a little bit about that? I don't know, on the right-hand side of the
This thing?
lot, yes, it looks like, is that to
That
necessary setbacks?
it's a necessary setback for the garage, the existing garage on lot 1. So you can see in the blow up here, it'll create a 4-foot setback for that existing garage. And of course, you know, you can draw the line any way you want to they could have it go all the way back to the rear, but they've decided just to keep it as with a 90-foot depth.
Other questions? Otherwise, is there a motion to endorse the ANR or another motion? I don't know, surprise me.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to endorse this ANR. What's the address? 11 Norwood. That is not a subdivision.
Is there a second? Rich seconds. Okay. Any further questions or discussion? Okay, going back around. Rich,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
Stacy,
Yes.
George,
Yes.
Cameron,
Yes.
Sam.
Yes.
I vote yes as well.
You're quiet tonight, Sam.
This cold does it. This cold's the worst.
Just about everybody I know is either sick or just was sick, or is probably about to get sick. So good luck to us all. Oh, brutal. Wow. I know we had a pair of minutes. Are there other things?
This is a leftover. I think I'm gonna punt, just so you know. I think next week we only have one continuation and no new permits. So will probably be a good time to bring the proposed language back for central business, but also the other two that we've various times talked about that we haven't had a lot of discussion about for the next meeting, which is our tweaks to the 2-family by right. And so this is sort of a follow-up on the presentation that the Strong Towns folks gave at the last meeting about sort of impediments to housing, sort of addressing that. So I'll probably have that for you all to look at next time.
Great. Okay, so I think that leaves just minutes. We got 2 sets of minutes from November 13th and December 11th. Any edits to suggest? Otherwise, perhaps a motion?
I move to approve the 2 minutes that we're looking at, whatever they are.
November 13th and December 11th.
Thank you.
Is there a second?
A second.
Okay. Sam,
Yes.
Cameron,
Yes.
George,
Yes.
Stacy,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
Rich.
Yes.
I also vote yes. Anything else, or is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn at 7:56. I'll make a motion to adjourn at 7:56.
I'm sorry, I have 7:57, so your motion is denied. Do we need to roll call on this as well?
Second.
Yes, because Sam.
Okay. All right. Motion and seconded by Chris. Sam,
Yes.
Cameron,
Yes.
George,
Yes.
Stacy,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
Rich.
Yes.
I vote yes as well. Thank you, everybody. Good night.